The stars in this sector of space belonged to the Kaurath Empire. They had owned them for 3,000 years, and they had taken them by force. The Kaurath were proud warriors, tall and covered in scales that shimmered like metal under starlight. They had conquered 847 star systems, and they feared nothing. Commander Yunseek stood on the bridge of his war cruiser, the Eternal Fang, watching the scanning screens with interest. His crew had detected something unusual, a distress beacon. It was weak and flickering, but it was definitely there. "Commander, we have identified the source," said his science officer, a younger Kaurath named Bongsu. "It appears to be a vessel from a species called humans." Yunseek's eyes narrowed. "Humans? I have heard this name before." Bongsu pulled up data on his screen, his claws tapping nervously. "Sir, there are warnings in the Galactic Council database. Very old warnings. They recommend avoiding contact with human space. There is a quarantine designation." The commander laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. "Warnings from 200 years ago? Written by species too weak to defend themselves, no doubt. What threat could one damaged ship pose to the Kaurath Empire?" Other officers on the bridge joined in the laughter. The Kaurath had never been defeated in battle. They had destroyed civilizations that had stood for thousands of years. Ancient warnings meant nothing to them. "Bring the ship into our cargo bay," Yunseek ordered. "I want the crew captured alive. They will make interesting specimens. Perhaps good slaves if they prove useful." The Eternal Fang moved through space like a predator closing in on wounded prey. The human vessel was small, barely the size of a Kaurath scout ship. Its hull was damaged, with scorch marks across the metal surface. It tumbled slowly through the void, clearly helpless. Tractor beams locked onto the human ship and pulled it into the massive cargo bay. Yunseek walked down to meet his prize, accompanied by 20 armed soldiers. The Kaurath were not fools. They took precautions, even with prey that seemed harmless. The cargo bay doors sealed shut with a heavy sound. Atmosphere flooded the chamber. After a moment, the human ship's hatch opened with a hiss of air. 12 humans emerged, their hands raised in surrender. They wore simple flight suits, and they looked small compared to the towering Kaurath warriors. They had no weapons visible. They did not look dangerous at all. Yunseek stepped forward, his weapon pointed at the first human, a man with tired eyes and short, dark hair. "I am Commander Yunseek of the Kaurath Empire. You are now prisoners. Resist and you will die." The human man looked at him calmly. His name tag read Captain Jae-min. He spoke in a steady voice that the translation device picked up clearly. "We understand. We will not resist. But Commander, you have made a terrible mistake." This made Yunseek laugh again. "A mistake? You are damaged, helpless, and now captured. I think you are the one who has made the mistake, wandering into Kaurath space." Jae-min shook his head slowly. "We did not wander here by accident. Our ship was damaged escaping a supernova collapse 3 systems away. We had a choice of directions to flee. We specifically tried to avoid your space. And yet here you are," Yunseek said with amusement. "Yes, here we are. And now you need to listen very carefully." Jae-min's voice remained calm, but there was something in his eyes. Not fear, something else. Concern, maybe? "You should release us immediately. You should let us repair our ship and leave. You should forget you ever saw us." A female human stepped forward. Her name tag said, Hai-jin. She was small, even for a human, but she looked directly at Yunseek without fear. "Commander, please. Check your databases more carefully. Read the old warnings. There is a reason for the quarantine." Bongsu, who had followed the commander to the cargo bay, shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, perhaps we should." "Silence." Yunseek snapped. He turned back to the humans. his amusement fading into irritation. You are prisoners. You do not give warnings to Kaworth warriors. You do not make demands. You will be taken to holding cells, and you will answer questions. If you cooperate, you may live as slaves. If you resist, you will die. These are your only choices. Another human, a young man whose tag read Daehyun, spoke quietly. You do not understand. We are not worried about ourselves. We are worried about you. Worried about us? Yoon-sik could not believe the arrogance of these small creatures. Take them to the holding cells. All of them. I will personally question them later. The Kaworth soldiers moved forward, roughly grabbing the humans and binding their hands. The humans did not fight back. They did not struggle. They simply allowed themselves to be taken, but each one of them looked at their captors with the same expression. Pity. As the soldiers led them away, Captain Jae-min called back over his shoulder. Commander Yoon-sik, please, you still have time to avoid this. Release us within the next few hours, and everyone will survive. Everyone will be fine. Just let us go. Yoon-sik turned his back on the humans. Fools, he muttered. They speak as if they have power here. As if they have any hope at all. Mong-su stood beside him, looking at his datapad with growing unease. Commander, I really think we should review the old records more carefully. The warnings about humans are marked with the highest priority level. I have never seen that before. Then, the council was filled with cowards. Yoon-sik said dismissively. Prepare the interrogation chamber. I want to know what makes these humans think they can threaten the Kaworth Empire. As he walked back toward the bridge, Yoon-sik felt completely confident. He had captured the humans easily. They were weak, small, and helpless. Whatever old warnings existed in some dusty database, they clearly did not matter anymore. He had no idea that the clock had just started ticking. And he had no idea what was already coming for him through the darkness of space. The holding cells were cold and made of bare metal. The 12 humans sat quietly on the hard benches, not speaking much. They looked tired but not afraid. To the Kaworth guards watching them through the security screens, this seemed strange. Most prisoners screamed or begged or cried. These humans just sat there, sometimes checking the time on their wrist devices. Admiral Tae-woo arrived at the detention level 3 hours after the capture. He was older than Commander Yoon-sik and had won more battles than most Kaworth could count. His scales were darker, marked with scars from a lifetime of war. He did not like mysteries, and these humans were a mystery. He entered the interrogation room where they had placed Captain Jae-min. The human sat at a simple table, his hands bound in front of him. When Tae-woo entered, Jae-min looked up and sighed. You must be someone important, Jae-min said. They only send important people when they start to worry. Tae-woo sat down across from him, his massive frame making the chair look small. I am Admiral Tae-woo, Supreme Commander of the Kaworth 7th Fleet. And I am not worried. I am curious. Your ship was damaged. Where did you come from? We are from a colony called New Jeju, Jae-min explained. We were returning to Earth when we detected a star going supernova. We barely escaped the blast wave. Our engines were damaged. We came here because it was the closest safe point in space. You said you tried to avoid our territory. Yes, we did. We failed, obviously. Jae-min looked directly at the Admiral. But it is not too late. Let us go. Repair our ship if you want to be generous, or just release us, and we will drift until our own people find us. Either way, you avoid what comes next. Tae-woo leaned forward. What comes next? You keep speaking as if you have some power. You are prisoners. 12 prisoners. What exactly do you think will happen? Jae-min glanced at his wrist device. In about 26 hours, if we have not been released, this entire sector will become very dangerous. Not for us. For you. The Admiral's patience began to wear thin. Explain yourself clearly. When a human ship does not check in on schedule, an emergency protocol activates, Jamin said. When that ship's last known position is scanned and shows signs of capture or violence, a response is triggered. You took our ship by force. Your tractor beams left marks. That counts as a hostile action? And? Tae Wu demanded. And the 30-hour clock started the moment you grabbed our ship. If we are not released safely within that time, what happens next is not our choice anymore. It is automatic. Tae Wu stood up suddenly. He walked around the table and stood over the human. You think your people will come for you? How many ships will they send? 10? 20? We have 200 warships in this sector alone. Jimin looked sad. They will send enough. They always send enough. The Admiral's hand shot out and struck Jamin across the face. The blow was hard enough to knock a Calorth warrior unconscious. The human's head snapped to the side and blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. But Jamin did not fall. He did not cry out. He slowly turned his head back to look at Tae Wu. Now the clock is at 27 hours, Jamin said quietly, wiping blood from his lip. You should not have done that. Tae Wu felt something he had not felt in many years. A small cold feeling in his chest. Doubt. This human had just been struck hard enough to break bones. But he sat there calmly, more concerned for his captor than himself. The Admiral turned and left the room. He brought the next human in for questioning. Then another. And another. Each one told him the same thing. Release us. Let us go. You are running out of time. The female pilot Haijin actually begged him with tears in her eyes. Not for her own safety, but for his people to leave the system dot by the sixth human, a young engineer named Daehyun. Tae Wu was furious. When Daehyun also warned him about the time limit, the Admiral struck him too. Daehyun barely flinched. He just looked at Tae Wu with sad eyes and said, The clock does not stop because you are angry. It only counts down. Tae Wu ordered all 12 humans thrown back into the holding cell together. He returned to the command center of the station, his mind churning with confusion and growing anger. Commander Yunsig met him there. Admiral, the prisoners are secure. What did you learn? They are either insane or they know something we do not, Tae Wu said. They keep speaking of a countdown, of some response to our capturing them. Have our long-range sensors detected anything unusual? No, Admiral. Space is empty in all directions. No ships, no signals, nothing. Tae Wu nodded. Good. Perhaps they are simply trying to frighten us. Keep them locked up. Double the guards. I want, Admiral. A sensor officer named Minsu suddenly shouted from his station. His voice was high with shock. Sir, I have contacts. Multiple contacts. They just appeared. What do you mean appeared? Tae Wu demanded, rushing to the sensor station. Minsu's hands shook as he pointed at his screen. They were not there 5 seconds ago. I was watching empty space. Then there was a strange ripple in space-time, and suddenly there are 17 ships. Large ships. Sir, they are human ships. The command center went silent. Every Calorth officer stared at the sensor displays. 17 vessels hung in space just outside the defense perimeter. They had not traveled there. They had not appeared on sensors approaching. They had simply materialized, as if they had stepped out of nowhere. Tae Wu felt his scales go cold. Battle stations. Raise shields. Charge all weapons. Alarms blared throughout the station. In orbit around the military outpost, 200 Calorth warships powered up their weapon systems. Tae Wu had enough firepower to destroy a planet. 17 ships, no matter how large, should not concern him. But that cold feeling in his chest grew stronger. A communication signal came through. A female voice, calm and clear, speaking their language perfectly. "This is Admiral Sujin of the United Humanity Space Force. You are currently holding 12 human citizens. You have 27 hours and 14 minutes remaining to release them unharmed. This is not a negotiation. This is not a request. This is a courtesy. We are informing you of what will happen." Tae Wu grabbed the communication controls. "This is Admiral Tai Wu of the Kawarth Empire. You have entered our space without permission. You are outnumbered more than 10 to 1. Leave immediately or be destroyed." There was a pause. Then the human admiral responded, "We have not entered your space. We are on the boundary. Your prisoners have 27 hours. After that, we will enter your space. We will retrieve our people. And what happens to you depends entirely on their condition when we reach them. The choice is yours." The communication ended. The 17 human ships hung in space, not moving, not threatening, just waiting, like predators watching prey that did not yet understand it was being hunted. Admiral Tae Wu stared at the 17 human ships on his displays. They had not moved for 3 hours. They just floated in space at the edge of Kawarth territory, like monuments to patience. This bothered him more than if they had attacked immediately. "They are trying to intimidate us," Commander Yoon-sik said, though his voice carried less confidence than before. "They want us to fear them. Perhaps we should consider their offer," Bang-soo suggested quietly from his station. "I have been reading the old records about humans. Admiral, the warnings are very specific and very serious." Tae Wu slammed his fist on the command console. "We are Kawarth. We have conquered nearly 1,000 worlds. We do not surrender to threats from 17 ships." He opened the communication channel to his fleet. "All vessels, prepare for combat. We will show these humans what happens when they threaten the Empire." In the holding cell below, Captain Jaemin heard the battle alarm and closed his eyes. Pilot Haijin put her hand on his shoulder. "You tried," she said softly. "Not hard enough," Jaemin replied. He looked at the other humans. "When the fighting starts, stay in the center of the cell, away from the walls. The Kawarth build solid stations. We should be safe here." Young Dae-hyun looked scared for the first time. "How bad will it be?" "Bad," said an older human woman named Sun-hee. She had been quiet until now, but her uniform marked her as a former military officer. "The response fleet does not take prisoners lightly, but they will not kill unnecessarily. The Kawarth will have a chance to surrender." Above them, Tae Wu gave the order. "All ships, attack formation. Destroy the human vessels." 200 Kawarth warships moved forward like a steel wave. They had practiced this maneuver 1,000 times. They were perfect in their coordination. Their weapons locked onto the 17 human ships and fired. Simultaneously, the space between the fleets lit up with energy weapons, missiles, and projectiles. Enough firepower to crack a moon poured toward the human vessel's dot, and then something impossible happened. The human ships moved. But they did not move the way ships should move. They did not accelerate slowly or turn with the wide arcs that physics demanded. They simply shifted, like images jumping on the screen. One moment, they were in the path of the weapons. The next moment, they were somewhere else entirely. Every shot missed. Every single one. What? Tae Wu could not believe his sensors. How did they? The human ships responded. 17 vessels against 200. Blue beams of light shot from the human ships, so fast that the Kawarth barely saw them coming. They cut through Kawarth shields like they were not even there. They sliced through armor that had been designed to withstand planet-killing weapons. But the human weapons did not destroy. They disabled. Each beam hit with surgical precision. Engine sections exploded. Weapon arrays melted. Command centers went dark. But the main hulls remained intact. The life support systems kept working. In 11 minutes, it was over. 200 Calrith warships floated helpless in space. Not one had been destroyed. All of them were crippled, their crews alive but powerless. Taewoo stood on his bridge in shock. Around him, his officers stared at their dead screens. The station's weapons had been taken offline by the same precise strikes. They were defenseless. The communication channel activated. Admiral Su Jin's voice came through again, still calm. Admiral Taewoo, your fleet is disabled but intact. Your crews are alive. This was a demonstration. We could have destroyed you all in the first 30 seconds. We chose not to. Do you understand what this means? Taewoo said nothing. His throat felt tight. The cold feeling in his chest had spread through his whole body. It means we did not come here to kill you, the human admiral continued. We came here for our people. You now have 23 hours to release them. We will wait. But Admiral, if you harm them further, what you just witnessed will seem gentle compared to what comes next. 3 human ships moved forward. They approached the disabled Calrith command station slowly, carefully. Docking clamps extended and locked onto the station's hull with solid thuds that echoed through the corridors. Boarders incoming. Someone shouted. Taewoo grabbed the weapon from the armory. Around him, his remaining soldiers did the same. If the humans wanted his station, they would have to fight for it deck by deck. The airlock doors blew inward with a controlled explosion. Human soldiers poured through, wearing armor that looked light but moved with them like a second skin. They carried weapons that hummed with power. The Calrith soldiers fired. The humans moved through the gunfire like dancers, their armor absorbing hits that should have killed them. They returned fire with stunning precision. Each shot hit exactly where it needed to disable without killing. Taewoo found himself fighting a human soldier barely half his size. The human male moved faster than should be possible. When Taewoo swung his blade, the human caught his arm and twisted. The Admiral felt his weapon torn away with strength that seemed impossible for such a small frame. The human pointed his weapon at Tae-woo's head. "Surrender," he said. His name tag read Kyung-soo. Tae-woo looked into the human's eyes and saw no hatred there. No anger, just determination and something else. Regret, maybe. The human did not want to kill him, but he would if necessary. The Admiral dropped to his knees. Around him, his soldiers did the same. The battle was over. The station was taken. And not a single Calrith had died. Taewoo was brought to what had been his own command center. Now human officers worked at the consoles, their technology interfacing seamlessly with Calrith systems. They had complete control. A human woman entered. She was older, with gray in her hair and eyes that had seen many terrible things. Her uniform marked her as Admiral Su Jin. She looked at Taewoo without triumph or cruelty, just sadness. "Why did you attack?" She asked quietly. "We gave you time. We gave you a chance to walk away." Taewoo's pride was broken, but not his voice. "We are Calrith. We do not retreat from threats. We were not threatening you," Su Jin said. "We were warning you. There is a difference." She gestured to a chair. "Sit down, Admiral. You and your officers are going to watch something. You are going to learn why the old warnings existed. You are going to understand what your empire has forgotten." Tae-woo sat. Commander Yoon-sik and the other senior officers were brought in and seated around him. Bong-soo looked pale, his earlier fears confirmed in the worst possible way. A human in a simple uniform stepped forward. His name tag read Ji-woo, and his title was Historical Officer. He carried a data pad and looked like a teacher about to give a lesson. "Gentlemen," Ji-woo began, Let me tell you about the last species who ignored the warnings about humanity. Let me tell you what happened to the Varesh Dominion. Images appeared on the screens. Ancient recordings, battle footage, historical data. And as the Calrith officers watched, the cold feeling in their chests turned to ice. They began to understand what humanity truly was. And they began to understand the terrible mistake they had made. The human historical officer Ji Woo stood before the captured Calrith commanders. Behind him, screens showed images of a civilization the Calrith had never heard of. Great cities, massive fleets, an empire that had lasted for 5,000 years. This was the Varesh Dominion, Ji Woo explained. His voice was calm, like a teacher speaking to students. At their height, they controlled 2,000 star systems. Their empire was ancient when your ancestors were still learning to make fire. They were powerful. They were advanced. They were confident. Admiral Tawu watched the screens with growing unease. The Varesh had been impressive. Their technology looked superior even to Calrith designs. Their fleets numbered in the tens of thousands. 203 years ago, the Varesh discovered Earth, Ji Woo continued. We were new to space travel. We had only 3 colony worlds. We had maybe 50 warships total, and they were primitive compared to Varesh vessels. The screens showed images of early human ships. They looked fragile and simple. Commander Yoon Sik felt a flicker of confusion. How had these people become what they were now? The Varesh saw us as easy targets, Ji Woo said. They wanted our worlds. They wanted our resources. Most of all, they wanted slaves. Humans were the right size, the right intelligence level. We would make excellent workers for their empire. New images appeared. A Varesh fleet arriving at Earth. Massive ships blocking out the sun. Planetary bombardment. Cities burning. The Calrith officers watched humans dying by the millions. They attacked without warning. Ji Woo's voice remained steady, but something cold entered it. They destroyed our orbital defenses in hours. They killed 3 billion people in the first week. They demanded our surrender. Tae Woo found himself leaning forward. What did you do? We refused, Ji Woo said simply. The human government sent one message back to the Varesh. Just 3 words. Never. Try harder. The screens showed the Varesh response. More ships. More bombardment. Invasion forces landing on Earth's surface. Humans fighting with weapons that were clearly inferior. Losing. Dying. Being pushed back kilometer by kilometer. For the first month, we lost, Ji Woo admitted. We lost badly. The Varesh killed another 2 billion people. They captured 4 of our major cities. They took millions of prisoners to use as slaves. It looked like Earth would fall. Bong Su spoke up quietly. But Earth did not fall. No, Ji Woo agreed. It did not. Because the Varesh made a critical mistake. They assumed that because they were winning, they would continue to win. They did not understand what happens when you corner humanity. They did not understand what we become when survival is the only option left. The images on the screen changed. Human scientists working frantically. Engineers rebuilding. Soldiers training. And something else. Something that made the Calrith officers shift uncomfortably. In their seats, the humans in the images looked different, harder. Their eyes carried a light. That was almost frightening. We studied the Varesh ships we captured, Ji Woo explained. We took apart their technology. We learned how their weapons worked. We understood their tactics. And we did it all in 6 weeks. Impossible, Yoon Sik muttered. It takes years to understand alien technology. Not when your entire species is focused on one goal, Ji Woo replied. Not when every human alive is working toward survival. We had millions of scientists, billions of people supporting them. Every resource of Earth went toward one purpose: winning the war. The screens showed human ships being rebuilt, new weapons being designed, technology that looked like a fusion of human and Varesh designs, but somehow more dangerous than either. In month 2, we stopped losing, Jiwoo said. We held our ground. The Varesh threw more ships at us. We destroyed them. They sent more soldiers. We killed them. They tried new tactics. We adapted faster than they could change. New footage appeared. Human ships fighting with a ferocity that shocked the watching Cowarth. The humans did not fight like warriors seeking glory. They fought like survivors fighting for their existence. Every shot counted. Every movement had purpose. There was no wasted effort, no mercy, no hesitation. In month 3, we started winning. Jiwoo continued. We took back our captured cities. We freed our prisoners. And then we did something the Varesh never expected. We followed them home. The screens showed human fleets jumping into Varesh space. Attacks on Varesh colonies. Human soldiers fighting on alien worlds. And the Varesh, for the first time in their 5,000-year history, retreating. They tried to negotiate, Jiwoo said. After 4 months of war, they offered us peace. They would leave Earth alone if we stopped attacking them. We refused. Taewoo felt his throat go dry. Why refuse peace? Jiwoo looked at him with eyes that had seen the old recordings too many times. Because they had killed 5 billion humans. Because they had bombed our cities. Because they had taken our people as slaves. Because they had started a war thinking we were weak. We needed to make sure they would never make that mistake again. We needed to make sure no one else would ever make that mistake again. The footage continued. Human fleets striking deeper into Varesh territory. Varesh ships fleeing. Varesh worlds surrendering without a fight. The ancient empire crumbling under an assault from a species they had dismissed as primitive. Month 5, we had captured half their empire, Jiwoo said. Month 6, we offered them terms. Not peace, surrender. Complete and total surrender. Did they accept? Mongsu asked, though he already knew the answer. No, their pride would not allow it. They gathered their remaining fleets for one final battle. 40,000 ships against our 5,000. Jiwoo pulled up the battle records. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the Varesh had 300 ships left. We had 4,800. The Cowarth officers stared at the numbers in disbelief. We destroyed their military completely, Jiwoo continued. We dismantled their empire. We freed every slave race they had conquered. And then we did something that confused the entire galaxy. What? Taewoo asked. We relocated them. All of them. Every Varesh citizen, every family, every child. We moved them to a cluster of safe worlds. We gave them technology to survive. We gave them resources to rebuild. But we made them understand one absolute truth. Their empire was over. Their time as conquerors was finished. They would live as a peaceful species, or they would not live at all. Jiwoo pulled up a current star map. A section of space was marked with human symbols. This is the Varesh Memorial Zone. It is under human protection. The Varesh live there now, 3 billion of them. They are artists, scientists, philosophers. They have built a new culture. They are actually quite peaceful now. You destroyed them, Yoon-sik whispered. We destroyed their military, Jiwoo corrected. We destroyed their empire. We destroyed their ability to threaten others. But we saved their people. That is the difference. We do not wage war for glory or conquest. We wage war for survival and protection. When the threat is gone, we stop. Another human officer stepped forward. He was younger, wearing a captain's uniform. His name tag read Sungho. The galaxy learned a lesson from the HFY War, Sungho said. They learned that humanity is dangerous when threatened. The Galactic Council established a quarantine not to protect the galaxy from human aggression. They established it to protect everyone from forcing humanity to become what we became during that war. He looked at each Calorith officer in turn. We are not warriors by nature. We are builders. We are explorers. We are artists and dreamers and scientists. We love creating things. We love learning. We love beauty and music and stories. Sungho's voice hardened. But we are also survivors. And when survival requires it, when our people are threatened, when we are attacked without cause, there is nothing in this universe more dangerous than a human with something to protect. We will adapt. We will learn. We will not stop until the threat is gone. The screens went dark. The Calorith officers sat in silence, processing what they had seen. Their empire suddenly seemed very small. Their power seemed very limited. They had thought themselves the greatest warriors in the galaxy. They had been wrong. The command center was silent after the history lesson ended. Admiral Tae-woo sat with his head in his hands. Around him, his officers looked pale and shaken. They had watched the recordings. They had seen what humanity became when pushed to the edge. And they understood now what their prisoners had been trying to tell them. Admiral Sujin stood before them, her expression neutral. She had seen this reaction before from other species who had ignored the warnings. The shock, the fear, the terrible understanding that they had made a mistake that could cost them everything. You have a choice to make, Sujin said quietly. It is a simple choice, but it will determine the future of your entire empire. Tae-woo looked up at her. His pride was shattered, but he was still an admiral. He needed to protect his people. What choice? You return our 12 crew members immediately, in perfect health. You leave human space and never return. You mark our territory as forbidden in your star charts, and you warn your people to avoid us. If you do this, we leave. Your ships will be repaired enough to limp home. Your station will remain functional. Everyone lives, and if we refuse? Commander Yoon-sik asked, though his voice carried no challenge now. Only curiosity about what mercy might still exist. Sujin's expression did not change. Then you face what the Varish faced. We will consider this station and your fleet as active threats. We will dismantle them completely. We will track your empire back to your homeworld. And we will do to the Calorith what we did to the Varish. Not genocide. We do not kill entire civilizations. But your military will cease to exist. Your empire will end. Your people will be relocated and watched for generations. She paused, letting the words sink in. We do not want to do this. Every human in this fleet would rather be home with their families. We would rather be building things, exploring new worlds, creating art and music. But if you force us to become what we became 200 years ago, we will. And we will not stop until the threat is gone. Tae-woo felt very old suddenly. How long do we have to decide? Sujin checked the display. 19 hours and 42 minutes remain on the original deadline. But I am authorized to accept an immediate surrender. Your choice, Admiral. Before Tae-woo could respond, Bong-su stood up. The young science officer looked at his admiral with desperate eyes. Sir, please. We must accept. I read the warnings. I tried to tell you. The humans are not cruel, but they are absolute. If we fight, we lose. If we surrender now, we survive. Yoon-sik also stood, his earlier arrogance completely gone. Admiral Tae-woo, I was wrong. I thought the humans were weak. I thought the old warnings were exaggerated. I have never been more wrong about anything in my life. Tae-woo looked at his officers. Then He looked at the human admiral. Su Jin watched him with patience. She was not gloating. She was not threatening. She was simply waiting for him to make the intelligent choice. If we surrender, Tae-woo said slowly, what happens to the Kaworth Empire? What happens to our other fleets? Our other worlds? Nothing, Su Jin replied. We do not care about your empire as long as it stays away from human space. Fight your other wars. Conquer your other enemies. Rule your other worlds. Just never come near humans again. Never attack human ships. Never threaten human colonies. That is all we ask. That is all. Tae-woo could barely believe it. After defeating them so completely, the humans wanted only to be left alone? Su Jin smiled sadly. We do not want your territory. We do not want your resources. We do not want to rule over you. We just want to exist in peace. Every species we have ever fought has learned the same lesson. We will go to extreme lengths to be left alone. But if you will not leave us alone, we will go to even more extreme lengths to make sure you never threaten us again. Tae-woo stood. He looked at the human admiral and made his decision. We surrender, completely. Return our people to us, and we will leave your space forever. I will personally ensure that every Kaworth in the Empire knows to avoid humanity. Relief crossed Su Jin's face. A wise choice, Admiral. Truly, you have saved countless lives today, both Kaworth and human. She touched a communication device. Captain Jae-min, please report to the command center with your crew. Minutes later, the 12 human prisoners entered. They looked tired but unharmed, except for some bruises. When Jae-min saw Admiral Su Jin, he smiled. You came quickly. You know, we always do, Su Jin replied. She looked at Tae-woo. I understand you struck Captain Jae-min during interrogation. Tae-woo felt shame wash over him. Yes, I did. I was angry and foolish. Jae-min stepped forward and extended his hand to the Admiral. Tae-woo stared at it in confusion. What is this? A handshake. A human gesture of peace and respect, Jae-min explained. You made a mistake, Admiral, but you corrected it before it became a tragedy. That takes wisdom. I respect that. Slowly, Tae-woo reached out and grasped the human's much smaller hand. Jae-min's grip was firm and warm. The gesture somehow meant more than any treaty. Over the next hours, human engineers worked alongside Kaworth crews to repair the damaged ships. They shared technical knowledge freely, helping the Kaworth restore their vessels to working condition. They brought medical supplies for the injured. They even brought food. As the station supplies had been running low, a young human communications officer named Yoonji sat with Bong-soo, helping him access the historical records about humanity. Why were you not more clear in the warnings? Bong-soo asked. Why not tell everyone exactly what you showed us today? Yoonji sighed. We tried, but many species think we are exaggerating. They think we are trying to seem powerful. They do not believe until they test us. And by then, it is almost always too late. The Varesh were not the only ones, were they? Bong-soo asked quietly. No, Yoonji admitted. There have been 6 major conflicts since the Varesh War. Each time, a species ignored the warnings. Each time, we tried to avoid fighting. Each time, we were forced to become what we hate being. And each time, the other species learned too late that we were not lying. She pulled up a star chart showing 6 different sectors of space, all marked as human protectorates. The Varesh live here. The Terval Collective lives here. The Shren Empire lives here. Each one attacked us. Each one lost their military and their empire. Each one now lives under human protection, safe but powerless. You really do not kill them, Bong-soo observed. We are not monsters, Yoonji said softly. We are just very, very good at survival. And we learned long ago that the best way to survive is to make sure threats cannot threaten us again. But we take no pleasure in it. Every human who fights wishes they were building instead. As the repairs continued, Admiral Su Jin gathered the senior Calrith officers one final time. "Before we leave, I want to give you something." She handed Tae Woo a data crystal. "This contains everything we showed you today. All the historical records. All the warnings. Share it with your government. Share it with your military. Make sure every Calrith knows what we are." Tae Woo took the crystal carefully. "Why give us this?" "Because we hope that someday species will stop testing us," Sujin said. "We hope that someday everyone will understand that the warnings are real. That humanity truly does not want to fight. That we can be friends and allies instead of enemies." She looked out at the stars through the viewport. "Every war we fight costs us something. It takes away pieces of who we want to be. We have to become harder, colder, more ruthless. We hate it, but we do it because survival demands it." Tae-woo understood. "You want to stop fighting. More than anything," Sujin confirmed. "We want to explore. We want to learn. We want to create beautiful things and share them with the galaxy. But the galaxy keeps forcing us to be warriors instead." The human fleet prepared to depart. The 12 rescued crew members boarded their repaired ship, the Soul's Promise. Its hull had been fixed, its engines restored. It looked better than it had before the captured dot as the human ships powered up their strange drives. Young Officer Biora stood on the bridge of Soul's Promise next to Captain Jae-min. She looked at the Calrith station growing smaller on the view screen. "Captain, why do we always warn them?" she asked. "Why not just tell them we will destroy them if they attack? Why be so gentle about it?" Jae-min was quiet for a moment, watching the stars. "Because we remember, Biora. We remember what it cost us to become what we are. We remember the 5 billion dead from the Varesh War. We remember every battle, every sacrifice, every time we had to set aside who we wanted to be to survive." He turned to look at her. "If we can save one species from forcing us to become monsters again, it is worth the effort. If we can avoid one more war, it is worth the patience. We warn them because we hope. We hope that maybe this time, they will listen. But they rarely do," Baora observed. "No," Jaemin agreed sadly. "They rarely do." Everyone was told to fear humanity. The warnings were in every database, every historical record, every diplomatic file. But only ignoramuses ignored it. And ignorance is not an excuse we accept anymore. Not when it costs lives. Not when it forces us to become what we never wanted to be. The human ships shimmered and vanished, jumping away through space in ways the Calrith still did not understand. They left behind a station full of shaken warriors and an empire that would never forget the lesson it had learned in the command center. Tae Woo held the data crystal and made a vow.